I went to go see Hereditary, directed and written by Ari Aster, starring Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, and Dowd, and Gabriel Byrne, and also Toni Collette as well, of course. This film has been getting a lot of hype, specifically from the independent hardcore movie fan from the Sundance Film Festival all the way back in January. People were talking about this movie. It's finally out now, and I did go see the film based on several recommendations from my hardcore movie fan friends. Now, I am recording this review shortly after I saw the movie for the first time, and I'm still sort of processing and digesting, the movie and kind of really thinking it through. One thing I'll say about the movie is, and before we go any further, I'm not going to get into spoilers because this is a movie that you probably should see without spoilers. I actually went into this movie without even seeing a trailer. Like, I saw nothing about this film. I saw no TV spots, no radio, no reviews. I just went in to go see it based on recommendations from several friends. So there were virtually no expectations whatsoever. And this director, Ari Aster, this could be his big breakthrough film. It really could be based on the hype that it's getting, and it's a good time for it to come out now, after Deadpool 2 and after Avengers Infinity War, and really that horror crowd will eat it up no matter what. They're going to go see this movie. The guy doesn't really have too much of a history. He's done a lot of different film shorts, and a lot of them revolve around familial connections. Like, his movies really focus on families and their struggles with varying different things, their challenges as a family, and this movie's no different. Obviously, you can tell by the title, but like I said, just the title alone is what I had to go on. So, what do I think about the movie? Well, first and foremost, I want to say that this film does not rely on jump scares. If you're expecting this movie to be a jump scare filled, kind of roller coaster ride, it's not that kind of movie at all. This movie's very psychological, to varying degrees, okay? So that's not what you're going to get here. And even though there are other horror films that don't rely on jump scares until like midway point, this movie really spaces those out, but it tries to make them count. And you have to understand, without going into spoilers, I'm going to not spoil this for y'all like I said earlier, the movie is a bit of a slow burn. It takes a while to get going. I was invested in the film from the beginning. The movie actually begins with the death of the matriarch of the family. She passes away, and they kind of have to deal with this death in different ways. And the movie starts kind of giving you clues early on as to what the direction of the movie is going in, but also does it in a way where it's still kind of subversive when things get revealed, but also does it in a way where it's very subtle as well. And this is a movie that I could totally see myself going back to the movie theater and seeing one more time, or maybe on Blu-ray. I would say probably wait for the Blu-ray if you're going to see it a second time, because there are a lot of little clues sprinkled throughout the film that lead up to what's going on. And the movie really does take its time to develop characters while also sort of subverting what you think is going to happen. Because as you're watching the film, you're kind of trying to piece together and figure out, okay, what's happening? Like, is this person doing that? Is that person actually this? There's all these different things. And then at some point in the film, about a third of the way through the movie, this really crazy, shocking thing happens that I was not expecting, that I was legitimately not expecting. That's why I'm saying you have to avoid spoilers, because it's extremely shocking and unexpected, and it's something that even if you look at like the movie poster and things like that, you're just not expecting it. Like, you're just not expecting this to happen. And here's the thing. The first half of this film, again, this is a slow burn movie. If you are an impatient person, if you have to have, interesting things happen a lot, the first half of this film may actually bore you. I was hearing some people who were there in the movie theater, and they were basically saying, oh, the movie builds up, but the payoff was unsatisfactory. That's what they were saying. I think the payoff is actually pretty damn cool, and it really reminds me of movies like Rosemary's Baby. In fact, there's a lot of comparisons to be made about Rosemary's Baby with this movie. Like, tons. Even though it's not really involving a woman getting pregnant or anything like that, there are elements here with the family, who do you trust, all those things that are incorporated in the movie. So you really do have to be patient with the film, and I feel like the second time watching it, now that you know kind of what's going to happen, you may get more enjoyment out of the clues that the movie gives you. But like I said, that twist about a third of the way through, you're going to be like, what in the hell did I just see? Because it was like shocking. And it's not something that you usually see with, bigger franchise horror movies. You don't see things that are this, I don't know how to describe it without spoiling it. Just trust me on this one. It's a moment you won't forget. And what I liked about that is that moment that I'm talking about, that twist, is kind of what sets the movie into a tailspin of the events that happen in the second and the third act of the film. So like that event, the movie plays with you in that you think that this person is kind of like the focus of the film, and then it shifts very quickly to another person because a certain event happens, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, now I really don't know where this movie's going to take me. And I like that about the movie. It really is like a ride. And the thing about the movie where it gets you is that for most of the movie, you don't know if the characters, again, trying not to spoil here, I'm trying to be super vague. You don't know if the characters are actually going crazy or if this is actually happening. Because the movie's pretty much, it is a supernatural horror film, but you really don't get into the supernatural stuff until later in the movie. So as you're watching the movie, I'm giving you my experience. I'm over here like thinking to myself like, okay, this is not like a regular horror film. Like I'm not seeing like, even with Conjuring, like the Conjuring films, you've got lots of atmosphere, lots of buildup. And then you get some payoffs as you watch the movie. This movie sort of like cut into two movies, where the second half gets more and more, I guess, supernatural. And then it really builds up to the final, I want to say 10, 15 minutes, where it's legitimately crazy. It just goes bonkers, but not like The Conjuring. And I'm going to compare it to The Conjuring. Not like The Conjuring where you saw like, the house about to explode. And in Conjuring 2, you saw like the dark straw man come to life. It doesn't do things like that. It doesn't really use CGI like that. Like it's not that kind of horror movie. It's very old school. This dude, Ari Aster, is a really talented filmmaker. This guy's got talent. And this is his first like long form film. This guy has talent and passion for making these movies, dude. This dude needs to be working with Lee Whannell and James Wan and them because he really knocked it out of the park. The way the movie's directed, the way he directs his actors, the performances are all extremely convincing. And that's crazy because the dude, he's relatively new to the business, in a way. And he's knocking it out of the park with this one. I think your enjoyment of the movie will depend on how you feel about the last 5 to 10 minutes of this movie. Because the movie, the last few minutes, I can see some people saying were rushed. I did not think they were rushed. I did not think so. In fact, I actually appreciated how it didn't just bait and switch you. That's not how the ending of the movie was at all. Like, things actually, happen. And the ending is, I can't spoil it, but it's pretty different from a lot of endings to movies. That's how I can put it. It's really, I really feel like your perspective of this film is going to come down to what you think about the ending. Really, that's going to be a big thing. I loved it. It took me back to an era of classic television shows and classic films that we just don't see that much anymore. I really liked the ending, even though it was very, very unsettling. In fact, the entire movie is unsettling. I'm not a pussy when it comes to this stuff. I see a lot of horror movies, not as much as my friends do, but I do see a lot of them, and I am into conspiracies and supernatural stuff. I always have been. And this movie, it's not scary, it's just like creepy. Like you get creeped out, and then you put yourself in the character's shoes, and you're like, what the hell would I do? Which to me is the secret of a great horror movie, whether it's Halloween or whether it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist and you try to figure out what you would do, and this movie definitely does that, but it is ruthless. And back to the ending, the thing about the ending is when you're watching the movie, you're just sitting there like, and it ends, you're like, what the hell did I just see? Like, what was that? But not in like a bad way. Not in a bad way, because one thing that Ari Aster does in this movie that I really appreciated, because almost no other movie does stuff like this, is he actually kept it going. So there was a couple of parts in the end where I'm thinking, okay, cut off, roll credits. Like, it's going to happen now. And it doesn't happen now. He keeps it going. You'll know when you see the movie. He keeps it going and shows more scenes of the, I guess you can call it the epilogue, right? And that was cool. Like, I liked that. Because it added that extra layer of, yeah, we're trying to make the audience feel uncomfortable, and we succeeded, but in a good way. And, of course, the actors did their part. Toni Collette is awesome. Millie Shapiro, who plays the daughter, she's from Tampa, which is where I live, and that pops me that she is a Tampa native, and I think she has a bright future in horror. She has a very unique look to her and a very unique presence in the film where I could totally see her doing more and more and more of these films. Really, really liked her in this movie. She was great. And, of course, Gabriel Byrne, I mean, he's got tons of experience. This dude's been in, like, The Usual Suspects and Stigmata and End of Days. And, you know, he's in the movie and he plays the husband who is, you know, trying to be the logical one here when things go crazy. But anyways, go check out this film. Go check out Hereditary. It's a slow burn, but when it starts cooking, it does. And it doesn't rely on gimmicks. It genuinely tries to creep you out. Like I said, if you like movies sort of like Rosemary's Baby, there's so many comparisons to Rosemary's Baby, dude. That's the one that really made me think about this movie. Films like that, like the old school movies that were all about atmosphere and you trying to figure out what the hell's going on, you know, and the movie's screwing with your head, then you'll like this movie. Okay, you'll like it. So, anyways, that's what I have for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you down the road.